Okay, and this is my favorite move. This is also in the 90s in a Sicilian. I've lectured on this several times. My game with Yumol from the New York Open, round 1. Open Sicilian, the same stuff we've been looking at. We just looked at this. My game was Seawald. Seawald played knight de2. Yumol played knight b3. And this is the point of queen b6. If they play the obvious knight b3, then their bishop can't go to b3. So why'd they play bishop c4? And you're losing a tempo. You're going to play queen here and go back. And then the bishop can't go back to b3. That's the whole point of queen b6. Bishop e3 is not very common, actually, in that position. Knight b5 is just a bad move. That's just silly. Very reminiscent of what Arganian did against me. Now, in this position, he should just go back to c3, and black is slightly better because his moves don't make any sense. That just says black is clearly better. But, you know, when you're a low-rated player and you play knight b5, and 2 moves later the guy plays a6, you feel sort of silly going back to c3. But that's not how you should play chess. You should play the best move. Knight c3 is the best move. If he plays knight c3, he's sort of acknowledging that knight b5 didn't make any sense. So he played knight d4, and these are the superfluous knights. Those are the knights that go knee. Knight e5. My knight's always on e5. Bishop e2. I got d5 in. Go Ben. Takes. Yay. Oh, give me the knights. 2 knight. So my knights are great. The pawn on f3 is silly. Black has a big advantage. And now he played this. And I played my greatest move ever, even though it's not necessarily the engine move. It depends what engine you have. For example, currently it's the engine move. Over the last 30 years, different engines have said this is the best second or third best move, the move that I played. It's definitely the most shocking. Stockfish 15 at depth 20 says this is the best move. That's good enough for me. I've shown this position a million trillion times, and I just realized that she's the one who shot Andy. That's right, Reservoir Dogs. Spelling of reservoir is not very good, but all right. You don't have to time him out for that. This is my most spectacular move. It's the least likely move that you would ever make. Exactly. Knight d3 check. I showed this to Uma Thurman, and she said, God damn. I said, God damn. My opponent played a move that you won't believe unless you've seen this before, because I've shown it so many times. Then you'll believe it. But if you've never seen this before, you won't believe what move he played. He played the move I expected. He played the engine move. King f1. Confusing the audience, which is you. You're confused. I'll let you guys look at it for a little bit. Try to figure out what the issues are. I'm always confused. Okay, so if he takes with the pawn, bishop b4 wins his queen. Previous to that, bishop b4 did not win his queen because he plays c3. But if he plays c takes d3, he doesn't have a c pawn. So then I win his queen. If he takes with the queen, he undefends his bishop on g5. Black has a monster advantage, dominating the dark squares. Never play f3. If he takes with the bishop, Then my queen comes with great vengeance and furious anger. Queen e5 check. You were laughing at my queen on b8. I saw you laughing. Now who's laughing? And then I win the bishop on g5. And once again, black has a big advantage. So he played king f1. And I play knight f4. And he can't castle anymore. And I can. And I got rid of his e-pawn. My knights are better than his. Black has a big advantage. Played g3, which isn't very good. And here he made a very bad move. King g2. King's bad on g2 because it lines up with my bishop and it weakens e3. Okay, now he blundered. Here, he's close to losing. Strategically, incredibly bad for white. But he blundered with queen d6. And in this position, I did something silly. Knight f5 is very strong. Knight d5 is very strong. They're equally strong. And I chose one because it had a little trap. I chose knight f5, hoping beyond hope he would take on b6, so I win his queen. Obviously, if I play knight d5, he's not going to take on b6. Knight d5 is more accurate, and the idea is if he takes my queen, which he could also do after knight f5, I throw in this check. He doesn't have a good answer to that check. If he plays king here, I take his rook with check. If he moves his king here, which is the engine move, now bishop f3 is a threat, knight takes d1 is a threat, knight takes c2 is a threat, so I'm completely winning. But I played knight f5. He saw that if he took his queen, my queen, I'd play knight here check, which actually he should do. It turns out that's better for him than what he did. He played queen back to d2. Now he regrets, well, queen d6 is ridiculous. Now he regrets king g2 because I have queen e5 threatening the pawn and threatening knight e3 check. He stopped knight e3 check. I took a pawn. And this is a position I show a lot of my students when I was teaching. Should black trade queens or not trade queens? Now, if you've read chess books or been coached by a bad coach, which you have, they tell you to trade when you're ahead, which is wrong. But that's what all the books and coaches have told you. So you blindly follow it. Then you go vote for Trump. Then you go vote for Kerry Lake. Then you go give money to the Republican National Committee. That's what you do. You do stuff that's wrong. Okay? Then you get your white sheet on and go to your rally. Start burning crosses. That's what you do. Okay? But if you're a good chess player, you trade queens depending on whose king is safer. Obviously and frankly, my king is safer. I want the queens on the board because I want to punish that king. So I play queen a3. Any engine will tell you queen a3 is far superior than trading queens. Exactly, ace deuce. Now you're talking. Okay, knight d4. Traded knights. He took with the pawn. His pawns are bad anyway, but now, man, nice bishop. Okay, now this is actually quite funny. When I played the move rook a c8, I expected him to blunder because he played the obvious move, which loses to a not so obvious reason. And I said, oh, if he plays the obvious move, that loses. Now, he's already losing. I have an extra pawn. I have a better pawn structure. I have a better minor piece. I have a safer king. I'm higher rated. I stack paper to the ceiling. I drive on 24-inch chrome, right? I got more rebounds than him, blocked more shots. And he blundered with rook c1 because, it's the kind of reaction rook c8, rook c1. And even though his rook has defended 500 times, when I take it, he can't take back without losing material. You don't expect the guy to give the file away, and especially when you have 3 ways to capture, you figure one of them will be good, but they're all bad. If he takes with the knight, I win this f-pawn over here. God damn. If he takes with the rook, I get another pawn, 2 connected passed pawns ahead. So he took with the queen, and I take the A pawn. Hooray! And he played knight d2, trying to trap my queen, because he was in check. Now, if it's his move, which it's not, he can play rook a1, and my queen's trapped. Also, maybe he'll take on b6. I'd still be winning then. But so I stop both of them with the move queen a5. Now he can't win my queen. He can't win my b pawn. He's down 2 connected passed pawns. Bad pawn structure, exposed king, beautiful bishop. The engine says I'm +4, and he resigned here. That's one of my favorite games.